Hi there. Have you heard the news about the Ben Bernank?
No.
He came out of his compound on Sunday to try to do some damage control.
Damage control? You mean he's going to forgive the debt on all that money the Federal Reserve Bank created out of thin air?
No.
Is he going to fix the housing problem they created that made millions of people lose their homes?
No.
Is he going to stop banks from taking homes from people if the bank is getting paid for the home by the taxpayers anyway?
No.
Is he going to stop buying treasury bonds with thin air so the government won't be able to make debt slaves of us by making us pay them back with taxes out of our future earnings?
No.
Is he going to switch us to a gold and silver coin standard so the 97% loss in the value of the dollar will at least be stopped?
No.
Is he going to make the banks mark the asset values on their books to actual market value like everyone else has to do?
No.
Is he going to open the books of the Federal Reserve Bank and allow a real audit?
No.
Is he going to lift the veil of secrecy and allow the people to see what kind of deals they are making with foreign governments and foreign central banks?
No. Not any more than they have to already.
Is he going to let us count the people's gold the Federal Reserve Bank says it has, like at Fort Knox?
No. You are not allowed to know how much gold there is, and you are not allowed to see any of it.
Surely, you must be joking.
No. I'm not joking. And don't call me Shirley.
Then what kind of damage control is the Ben Bernank doing?
I thought you'd never ask. He had to do something. The whole country is laughing at him since those two bears got 3.5 million views on YouTube. It's getting dangerous. He came out of his compound to field a bunch of softball questions from a 60 Minutes reporter who knows nothing about economics, just so he can tell us all that quantitative easing is not printing money. Don't you feel better now?
No. I have a pain in the bottom of my stomach. I think it might be Oh? Never mind. How can the Fed buy $600 billion in treasury bonds without printing money?
He says, quantitative easing is simply holding interest rates down, but there is no increase in the money supply.
How does the Ben Bernank hold interest rates down?
By buying $600 billion worth of treasury notes.
And what does the Ben Bernank buy those treasury notes with?
He writes a check.
Does the Ben Bernank have $600 billion in a checking account somewhere?
Don't be ridiculous. Of course not.
Then what is the check by the Ben Bernank drawn on?
It is drawn from thin air.
Thin air?
Well, yes.
And that isn't printing money. Is the Ben Bernank a big fat liar?
Well, technically the money is just digits in an account. It would cost too much to really print that much cash. So they just hit a key on a computer, and then, it's there, like magic.
And, just like that, they bought $600 billion worth of treasury bonds.
Yes.
And when the government blows all that money, it won't be circulating in the economy.
That's what you are supposed to believe.
And then, we will be taxed to pay the bonds off.
Yes.
After they hit a key on a computer to create that money, then we have to pay them back with real money.
Yes.
And that is done only to keep interest rates low.
Yes.
What if we decide we didn't have any choice in borrowing that money, and we don't intend to pay it back?
That is what the IRS is for.
But what if we can't pay it back, because the deficit and government spending are wrecking the economy, and people are losing their jobs?
If people start to worry that the government might not pay back its bonds, then they will not buy the bonds.
So what? I don't care about that.
Government already borrows almost as much as it collects in taxes, just for day-to-day expenses. It will be forced to offer higher interest in order to get people to buy its bonds.
But you just said the Ben Bernank is doing this to keep interest rates low.
Yes.
And you just said the Ben Bernank said the Federal Reserve Bank is not printing money.
That's what the Ben Bernank said.
But really the Ben Bernank is creating money out of thin air and buying our future labor with it that we will be forced to pay back in taxes.
Yes.
And between the government and the Federal Reserve Bank, they are printing and spending so much money that eventually they will have to raise interest rates anyway.
Yes. The Ben Bernank said he can raise interest rates in 15 minutes to control inflation if he has to.
And because of this, we might end up with hyperinflation, a bond market crash, and an even bigger depression. Or a round of extremely high interest rates and a depression.
Yes. That is a distinct possibility.
And when they create a great crash, these banks that loaned money from thin air, they end up with title to all the property that they kicked the buyers out of.
Oh yes. They do a few hours paperwork, making sure you are worthy to borrow the money they conjure up from thin air. Then, if you miss a few payments, they kick you out, and they get to keep your house out of the deal. For a few hours paperwork. They aren't loaning you someone else's savings, you know.
I don't believe you. Maybe we really could be that stupid to allow a privately owned banking cartel to create and spend trillions of dollars in secret, being above the law, above Congress, above the president, in violation of the Constitution, able to wreck our economy, enslave us with debt for generations without our consent, and destroy the greatest nation in the history of mankind. These are the guys who caused this disaster and never saw it coming. And then I'm supposed to believe they would try to push a story like that on national television. What kind of an idiot do you take me for? I think you really are kidding. From now on, I'm calling you Shirley.